I am here to say to the Connecticut taxpayer that we are all, and our team is behind you. We're here to fight for you, to make the state more affordable, to make you able to stay in this state, and make you understand that the myths and the fallacies that they're putting out are not true. There are other ways to do it, and we have those other ways. We are here for you.
We have some serious concerns about the two bills that are being proposed. Bill 7202 would allow the Connecticut DOT to put tolls on 95, 91, 84, and parts of 15. Tolls would not just be on the borders, and I think many are starting to realize that. And tolls could be on all vehicles, as the governor has backed off on his original proposal of trucks only. The language in the second bill, 7280, says a tolling proposal submitted by the Connecticut DOT will be deemed approved if the General Assembly does not hold a vote within 15 days of a public hearing. Simply, your elected officials won't even have to vote.
We absolutely do need to invest in our infrastructure. It is imperative to return the economic vitality of our state. And while we see that importance, our roadmap to getting there is very different than what's been outlined in the bills that Senator Martin just laid out for you. There is a lot of confusion about these proposals out in the public. So Senator Martin and I have hit the road. We have been touring the state of Connecticut. We visited many locations. We've got a lot more to come. And we are sharing detail and a lot of factual information that, quite frankly, we've had people come in and say, listen, I am for tolls, and they leave saying, no way. Quite honestly, what we hear when people hear the truth is outrage.
Sometimes I go places and I hear people say, well, why are you against tolls? We have to invest in our infrastructure. And you've heard us talk about all the ways that we can invest in that infrastructure, from the money, the sales tax from cars that go into the special transportation fund that the governor is now recommending we sweep, from prioritized progress, the House and Senate Republican proposal to invest in the state of Connecticut. So I want to bring that up first because I want you to understand it is a fallacy that tolls are the only way to fund transportation in the state of Connecticut. Commuters of Connecticut will be the hardest hit. You talk about when will be the most expensive time to drive. That's 6 to 9 and 4 to 7. They call them peak hours, but what they really are is when each and every one of us drives, because we have to go to work, because we have to pick up our kids, because we have to do. Those are the times. And these are people that fight for every dime they have. Each and every one of us and each and every person in the state of Connecticut works every day to make ends meet, to put their kids through school, to pay for their insurance, to pay for their utilities, and the list goes on. This is a lot of money to the consumers of the state of Connecticut.
Don't get distracted. Don't get distracted by the number of gantries. Don't get distracted on whether or not we will have discounts for Connecticut revenues. Any proposal or plan we have seen includes a revenue target of $1 billion. And any way you cut it, make no mistake about it, the majority of that is a tax coming out of the pockets of the residents of the state of Connecticut. And that's just the start. Because have you ever heard of a toll that has gone down in price? Like, think about it. You're going to work. You've got to go buy a gallon of milk. You have a doctor's appointment. Maybe you're going to go to a restaurant. Do you have a child in a traveling sports team? Or you're going to go shopping at a local mall. You are going to pay a toll. And you're not just going to pay a toll to get there. Any services, any products that you're going to buy are going to cost more because of the tolls that they incurred. Let's say that bill passes. Then the DOT goes off and develops a plan. Because right now we argue about how to pay for something that doesn't even exist. There is no plan, right? DOT comes and develops a plan. It goes to the Transportation Committee. Transportation Committee has an informational hearing within 10 days of that plan being filed with the clerk of the House or Senate, with the General Assembly. After the Transportation Informational Hearing, that's when the clock starts. If within 15 days that is not called for a vote, it is deemed approved. and it will go into effect.
Now, think about the danger of that. Think about the danger of that. Who can call us into session? The leaders, whether it's Democrat or Republican, and right now it's Democrat, the Speaker of the House and the President of the Senate. They don't call us in, that bill becomes law. Two people could decide whether or not that bill becomes law, irrespective to what the rest of the body thinks. I don't know. We have our rules with respect to contracts and settling cases. So if a case that wants to be settled is on the calendar for so many days, it gets approved. Those are Senate rules and House rules. I don't know, and I'm looking to find if there's a statute even in place that contemplates a policy goes into effect without the body voting on it. But what certainly makes it dangerous is two leaders determine that issue.
Normally you would say, right, what are our problems? What do we need to address? Okay, what are our possible solutions to be able to address that problem? What do we agree on there? Okay, what is it going to take to be able to do that? And then, right, how are we going to pay for it? Instead, we're saying, how are we going to pay for something that we haven't even quite figured out yet?
And our plan prioritizes where we are in the state and what the needs are. I mean, I think you remember Governor Malloy, put out a proposal for, $100 billion in transportation. If we had that money, I'd be the first person to stand next to him. But we don't have 100 billion cents at this point. So we have to figure out what our priorities are as legislators, as state government. And that's what that plan does. It says, let's figure out the most important thing, safety. Roads and bridges that need repair, and there are more than you think. And then prioritize the other projects, because it's just like you do it in your home. You have to figure out, no matter how much money you make, it's not a spigot that doesn't go off. And you have to figure out where that money needs to go. And transportation is a huge priority, and that's why we put together that plan. That's why it's different. Whereas tolls are just taking money out of your pocket, as the senator said, a mileage tax, and we don't know where it's going to turn up.
So the Lamont plan is sort of like, you give me $1, I'll give you 40 cents, right? And don't mistake that toll revenue is that we're going to be writing checks for our infrastructure projects. So the tolling plan is totally dependent as well on a bonding strategy. So Connecticut residents under the Lamont plan will be paying on the going-in rate of about $650 billion to start. On top of, if you say nobody stops in Connecticut, so nobody's filling up and buying our fuel, so that's another $500 million then that we're paying in gas tax.
My thoughts on it, I think he's sabotaging our plan that we put together. I think that we came up with a solid plan that shows that we can fund the transportation system for, we made it solvent, first of all, with the legislation that we passed in the bipartisan budget. And the governor has decided not to use the GO bonds of $250 million. And he also decided to freeze at an 8% level the car tax, dealership tax that we, again, put in the bipartisan budget. So is it a way of forcing tolls on us? I think the public can figure that out, but I think he's deliberately sabotaging it.
And more egregious is that, right, didn't we just vote on a lockbox? Because there's questions about how money is moving in and out of the Special Transportation Fund and our commitment to investing in infrastructure. Yet the first thing that's done is pull money out of the Special Transportation Fund. It's crazy. What we're talking about now is slapping tolls across the state of Connecticut. And in fact, these bills give the power for decision outside the legislature to put them anywhere on any limited access road. So it's pretty incredible. We should have a conversation about public-private partnerships and what are kind of the innovative things we can do in our state to move us forward. But we're not having those conversations. We're saying, let's toll the bejesus out of Connecticut, and then we'll talk about the plan.
So Lamont's